Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly gaming podcast releasing every Thursday. I am your host, Alex Stadnick, and as always, I'm honored to be joined by my illustrious co-host, Alex Van Aken.
Hello.
Hello. Didn't interrupt you that time. I've been working on it. See, we're getting there. Yeah. Join us each episode alongside a rotating crew of GI editors and special guests from around the industry as we bring you the latest gaming news, reviews, and big man swag your eyes and ears can handle. You better believe it. This week, we're breaking down our thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy, Kenna. Oh, I screwed it up. Kana, Bridge of Spirits. Oh, I even correct people later in the show. Dang it. And so much more. But first, I promised our Discord we have two very special guests today. Well, three, technically, counting Brian Shea. Hello, Shea.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's so good. I'm very excited to hear what you have. But on her final GI show appearance as a member of the GI crew, Liana Rupert has joined us. She's in the studio. Hello, my friend. It's so good to have you.
Emotional. I miss seeing your shining faces every day and geeking out. And Lord bless these people for putting up with all my butt talk. You think it's bad on the podcast? Should have checked out our Slack. It was,
We're
always
happy you didn't.
shenanigans, but yeah, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So I know when you started at GI a year ago, Game Informer was one of your dream positions in a career that has spanned, quite a few dream positions. But it sounds like you also have one that you're going to now, and I'd love for you to be able to talk about that a little bit before we get into today's show.
I'm so excited. Okay, so I've been really excited about Destiny, and if you're watching the show, you've probably read some of my coverage or heard me go off about it. I got like half the team addicted to it, and now I'm excited to say I'm officially joining that team. I am one of the new community managers alongside Cosmo and DMG, and I start next month. And Game Informer was my dream media job. I think I joined too late in my career. I was a little bit burnt out by media by the time I got here, which is unfortunate because you guys are literally the best team I have ever worked with. The best creative process, most talented bunch of buttholes I love till the day I die. And but yeah, I'm excited for this new journey, and I'm glad to have your guys' support too. Everybody's been really sweet about this next step, and I can't wait to nerd out officially and get paid for it.
Right?
I mean, there are three franchises that I think of when I think of you, Liana. I bet you can guess them, but it's Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and Destiny. And
crazy, that's my only tattoos. Dragon Age.
So to say like this is the perfect position for you and like the perfect like transition from media to like the publisher side is an understatement. So like, you're gonna knock it out of the park. You did a great job here, and we're excited to see like how you go from here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm just glad that like I now know who Savathun is before you got this job, so now I can understand all of the memes. They're going to be posted to the Destiny, all the channels. So I'm glad that you caught me up to speed before headed over there. Yes.
Oh, we I've already been canoodling with the social team. Like we got some height comparison stuff, body pillows. I'm doing it. I'm pushing it. Sorry, Destiny community. We're making it weird.
Sorry, or you're welcome. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Depends on who you ask.
Who you are.
Yeah. So in your new position then, you talked a little bit about what you're doing. Do you have a more concrete idea that you want to share with people, or is it like, you're just excited to find out and you don't quite know yet what a day is going to be?
No, we'll be doing, basically our role is to be the conduit between the community and the developers. And that doesn't mean every feedback that is given to us will get implemented in the game, because it's hard to do with, especially a game like this that has changed so much since launch. The launch was incredibly rough. Bungie knows it. Once they separated from their publisher, which was Activision at the time, they kind of weren't back to like, what did we want Destiny 2 to be when we first started ideating this? And they found their groove. Season of the Chosen was a huge turning point for the game. So basically, feedback, it's an always evolving game. So of course, everybody wants something completely different. And sometimes those wants could directly oppose each other. So it's not possible to get everything, but everybody, I can tell you after speaking with everybody there, it is one of the most passionate teams out there in gaming. The love that they have for these characters is, you wouldn't believe me if I told you how much it is. And and they're listening. So yeah, we're communicate, changes, tell you guys what's coming up. We got a lot of really cool, exciting stuff on the horizon that I can't wait to share. And yeah, and then social media, and we've got the Guardian Con, which changed its name, but it will always be Guardian Con in my heart. And yeah, just chilling out with the community.
Also, sorry, this is a left turn, but the Threads of Light, that looks awesome. They announced it like this week, I think, like the fashion thing, the Destiny fashion angle. I'm excited to see what that's about too.
The drip.
Yeah.
My Guardians look dope. So I was like, yeah, I'm down for this. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. You know me. I'm always in the comment section of Game Informer annoying people, and the community has always been the most important thing for me. So yeah, being able to be a part of the Destiny community in a more official way is just amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, like I said, we're gonna miss you, but this sounds like when God gave you her calling, that sounds like this is what you were meant to be. So thank you so much for all the help you've given us. And I'm excited to podcast with you, not for the last time, but for a little bit. We'll have to check in a couple months, see how the job is going. So maybe when
Seattle by then, yeah.
Yeah. So,
new setup. Will it be chaotic, or will I actually grow up? We'll see.
I think we all know the answer to that one. So
we do.
Let's get to news of the week. Let's do it. Big thing this week. The Fugees are getting back together. That's the news of the week.
Oh, wow.
Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean. No, don't look at me like that. This is the thing I'm most excited about this week. There's not a ton of gaming news this week. We're gonna move on from it. There's a couple of things. Unfortunately, we're recording before the Nintendo Direct, as we always tend to do, and to avoid looking like complete dinguses.
Yeah, I think dingai.
We're just gonna pretend we saw it already and be like, "Wow, that Breath of the Wild 2, that subtitle, that was really crazy."
Yeah,
it was amazing. So
can't believe it's called Breath of the Ganondorf.
Yeah,
it smells awful.
Yeah. Arm of the Ganon. We'll figure it out. But so I like how we did this so we wouldn't seem dumb, and then we just did this segment, and now
you're the host. You're the one who. Yeah, that was you.
You led us down this dark path.
That's true. That is on me. So no news this week that we're gonna cover, but hopefully next week is a little bit more eventful. And also, I think Shay is the biggest news of the week, frankly, because you got to go hands-on with a little Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so it was on our cover a few months ago, and I was thankfully a part of that team that got to see it, but we didn't get to play it. We just got to see basically the same gameplay footage that everybody else saw during the E3 reveal, and then have extended conversations with the developers, which was extremely insightful, but it's not quite the same as being able to play the game, get our hands on it, feel how it plays out when you're in combat, or how the quiet moments in between the combat feel. And with Guardians of the Galaxy, that is such an important part. My demo starts and they're like, "Hey, we've got to it takes place after the first sequence that we saw on the gameplay reveal. This is all right, they went into the fortress and now they're outside the fortress. So we don't know what happened in the middle part, when they're in the fortress. All I know now is that they're on the Milano, which is their ship, and they have a llama for some reason, and now they're going to the Nova Corps station to pay their debt or pay their fine. And so they're like, all right, let's chart our course for that. But before you lock and load, you can actually walk around the Milano and talk to all the Guardians and everything. And there are some actually really endearing character moments that just from this no context whatsoever gameplay vertical slice that I got to play, it's I walked into the cockpit and Gamora quickly shut off her screen, and Star-Lord's were you just looking at dolls? And she's secretly collecting dolls, and she was browsing the internet to find these rare collectible dolls, and she was talking about why they're important to her and everything. And then there's other moments where you walk into a room and you just examine something, and one of the Guardians will walk in and be like, "Oh, that's from such and such," and then you get into this long conversation with them and you can probe more about it. And there's one, I don't want to give away too many examples, but you found an assassin ring, and you're looking at it, and Gamora walks in, and you're like, "Oh, I was just looking at this assassin ring that I was going to give to you." And she's like, "How do you know that's an assassin ring?" And then you get into this whole conversation. You learn a lot about her backstory, about how she got her nickname, how she, why she defected from Thanos and joined the Guardians. And it's really cool. And then there's other ones are just like non-consequential, humorous things. Like I walked into the bathroom and like Rocket was in there scrubbing his tools with Peter's toothbrush. And he's like, "What? They get in all the small crevices." And he's like, "Dude, not cool." So there's little funny things like that, and other ones where it's like Drax is like, "Wow, I misjudged Rocket and Gamora because like they were really helpful back there, and I thought they were useless all this time." So like, there's some really like good character interactions that happen just when you're walking around the Milano. And of course, if you don't want to deal with any of that, you can go and like jump right into the mission, which I eventually did. I didn't do every single interaction because I only had 90 minutes with the game. But yeah, so that's like the ship interactions. I'm sure it gets a lot deeper than that, and like it didn't quite feel as deep as something like Mass Effect, but there's definitely like a lot of like learning about the characters and like kind of choosing how much backstory you really want. And I'm a big Marvel nerd, so I'm always like, yeah, tell me more about like your defection from Thanos's army, and like I want to learn more like how was Thanos defeated on this planet, and like how did you lead this operation. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. And then obviously when you get to the mission itself, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. Like you arrive on the base where Nova Corps is, and it's just abandoned, and it has like this kind of like Dead Space vibe to it, where it's like, where is everyone? Like, why are all these like why is the communication, why has it been cut? Why can't you contact any of the outside world? So you have to like walk around this abandoned space station and figure out where everybody is gone, and like solve tiny environmental puzzles, which were pretty simple. Like one was like rerouting power using like a switch system, and then the other was like using your elemental blaster to blast ice up on a door to freeze it from like shorting out and opening and closing real fast. And then there's other like dialogue options that you can like choose to interact with like different characters. And there's also like Easter eggs, like Jack Flag is on there, who's a character in the Marvel universe. And like he's being held like prisoner at the station. You can choose to like let him out if you want. And if you do, he actually will appear like later on in the stage. And like talking to Eidos, they were like, maybe that's the end of his story. Maybe it comes back. Like maybe it plays a factor later on in the game. So like there are a lot of like Easter eggs and like things that like, it's a linear path from point A to point B in the narrative. Like you're always going to start in the same spot as everyone else. You're going to end up in the same spot as everywhere else. But your choices will play a role in like how that story plays out, and like how your relationships with certain characters are, and what scenes you see in certain regards. And yeah, like it's really cool, like how like the characters just bicker and banter the entire time. They really captured like the Guardians of the Galaxy vibe in.
Did it ever get annoying, that part?
It didn't actually, which was the surprising part. And that was something that like I really asked them about. I was like, how do you make it so like the players aren't just sitting there thinking what the listeners are thinking about me right now? Where it's like, does he ever shut up? And they basically like they iterated on it and like play tested the hell out of it, and like we're like, all right, is anybody annoyed playing with these characters right now? And I'm sure there are people who are going to be like, they talk way
just
too much, because it's not just bantering back and forth when they're walking around in like the environments. They're also bantering during the combat. Like, so they're like, and there's like little arcs that play out within the combat. So like I don't have an example off the top of my head, but like an argument will start in the beginning of a combat sequence, and they'll continue to progress the argument. So it's like little mini cool, like narrative arcs that happen in the middle of combat where they're like yelling at each other. And it's really cool how like they really nailed that tone of the Guardians.
I like that, because even in big games like Last of Us 2, right, which is, kind of
very
really
funny
brought
game.
that
Exact same tone as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, brought that format, really helped to popularize it, like the walking and talking. Even in those games, I feel like during combat, it's like, all right, we're gonna have our story, and then we're gonna fight, and then okay, let's pick up the story where we left off. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so how about that comic shop? Like after you just like murdered people, where it's interesting to see like the further, like even it's just like a small detail of like, let's like continue a conversation or have a separate one during the fight with each other. Granted, it's a more cheeky game. You can kind of get away with that with the tone, whereas Last of Us, probably not. But yeah, just an interesting. I like that they're kind of pushing that a little bit further and implementing that.
Yeah, and there's also stuff like where like if you're just exploring and Star-Lord, who is the character you control. It's a single player game despite being like a squad based team. Like, they could have easily gone the Marvel's Avengers route and just have it be like a co-op game with NPCs if you want to play single player, but I'm very glad they went single player. And if like Star-Lord looks at something and like it triggers like a conversation, like, so you like look up at like the Nova Corps suits that are like just kind of like lining the wall, and like Rocket will be like, oh yeah, those are the suits that they and like, there's just like environmental things you can look at, and another character will comment on it, which is really cool for like building the world as well.
Well, and it sounds like, because I was, shocking that the internet would have flippant comments about anything, but we posted a new gameplay today, and some people were like, "Oh, this is just Star-Lord the video game." But from what you're saying, from an environment and storytelling spot, it sounds like everyone's really involved. How does that translate to the combat too? So,
same thing. You control Star-Lord, but because it's squad based, you pull up a you hit one of the bumpers, and it brings up like an interface. And on the interface, each character is mapped to a face button. And then when you click into which character you want to command, it'll give you all their abilities mapped to another, like the other, like, so like face buttons.
Subset of buttons.
Yeah, select like Y, and I think that's like Rocket. And then the faces on the face buttons will disappear, and it'll bring up his abilities that you have unlocked on the face buttons. And then you can choose which ability you want to kind of call in, and then that character's on a cooldown. But what, like, the best way to do it is use all of their abilities in conjunction with one another to set up these combinations. So like Groot will shoot his roots into the ground and then bring up and grab a character, and then you can have Drax and Gamora deal a lot of damage, and then while the characters are still held in place, you can have Rocket hit an AoE attack. And Drax's attacks are typically, like, both Drax and Gamora are good at dealing damage, but Drax is more about like inflicting stagger as well, whereas Gamora is more like quick, precise strikes that like will take out enemies or like bounce between enemies, like kind of like assassin style.
So if I'm doing my math right, 4 Guardians, 4 abilities each. So like you have like up to 16 abilities in combat
for your commands, cooldown. And then when you and they unlock. So I only had 1 ability per character, but I was able to check out the full like list of abilities that they had. And then Star-Lord also has different elements on his blaster. He can shoot non-elemental. I only had ice in mine, but he has other elements that you can unlock. And then he can also you can use your jet boots to like fly up and like kind of hover above the battlefield. And you can free aim during that, or you can choose to lock on to an enemy. So that way, like, you don't have to worry about steering your flight and also keeping on the aim. So that way, like, and that also gives you a tactical view of being able to, call in different abilities for your other Guardians. And then you can also unlock additional perks for Star-Lord, like faster reload. And it actually, what it does is it almost brings up like a meter, like Gears of War's active reload, where like you hit reload and then you hit it again within the meter, and it will instantly reload instead of like taking a longer time to reload your blasters, or making it so like, I think it was something along the lines of like giving you a tactical advantage that like lets you fly a little bit higher and also gives you like a faster ability to like I have it written down somewhere, but it gives you like a better starting point in the combat, like when you get into an encounter. And then finally there's a huddle system where like it's almost like an ultimate meter where it charges up, and it like you can hit, I think it's both shoulder buttons, and the Guardians get into like a football style huddle, and like you experience it from Star-Lord's first person view, and all the Guardians are like gathered around you, and like they're all like expressing their concerns about how the current battle is going. And you have 2 choices of what to say, and you have to listen to what they're saying and properly address what their concerns are. And if you address their concerns, the entire team gets a boost, and the entire team gets healed for like the duration of like the ultimate. And if you say like the wrong thing, they just like look like, because like if you say the right thing, they're like, and break, and then like, they go at it. And then if you say the wrong thing, they just look at you like, what are you talking about, dude? And then like they walk away like scratching their heads, and then like only Star-Lord gets the boost, but the entire team still gets healed. And then, but either way, like he puts on his Walkman, and you get to listen to like a song while you do like the huddle sequence and continue your combat.
Can you trigger that at any time, or how does that, like, does it go from battle to battle? How does that trigger?
It's on a cooldown. It's like a longer cooldown than any other ability. But yeah,
Okay.
like I only got to do it I think 3 times in the course of. I mean, my demo was just under 90 minutes, but like half of that was like exploring the Milano and going around and like exploring the empty Nova Corps station. I would say maybe 30 minutes total was like battle, but I got to trigger it like 2 or I think 3 times actually. Okay. So yeah, it was
Kind of like it feels worth the wait.
exactly. Yeah, and it
Because
was
if
cool.
you get it every couple of minutes, it's not.
There's also
special.
cinematic finishers where it's like once you get an enemy down enough on health, you can hit like 2 face buttons at the same time, and it'll kind of like kick off like this cinematic thing where like the guardians are each like volleying the character back and forth basically, and just a kind of a cool finishing sequence. I hope there are more than that, because just the one that I saw, because it would be cool to like not have the same finisher every single time.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So are you, from your 90 minutes and the cover story now, are you walking away from this more excited, less excited than you were before?
I think I'm as excited, maybe a little bit more excited than I was before, because I really love like the way that it lets you dig into these characters in terms of like their backstories and through conversations and everything. Because I figured that the combat would feel good, and it overall does feel good. I'm worried about like the depth of it in the long run, just because like I had a fun time with it in my, like I said, I probably had like 30 minutes worth of combat sequences over my demo, but like how will that translate to however long this game is over the course of multiple encounters and chapters and everything? Like, I know there's a lot of stuff to unlock and equip and master different combos and everything, which there's where the depth I think is going to come in. But how do they pace that out? How do they make it so it doesn't feel like, all right, I've seen everything that needs to be seen in this game in like the first 3 chapters, and then like it's just kind of going through the motions like so many games do, where it's like, all right, yeah, another encounter, whatever. Like, I want every encounter to feel good in this game, and I hope that they did that. And that's my only real concern currently, because like I said, they crushed it with like the tone of the Guardians. I think that like there's a lot of care that's gone into making this world feel like a real place, and making it so like you want to learn more about this world. And there's enough like nods to other parts of the Marvel universe that, you know, somebody who is immersed in either the MCU or the comics is going to want to dig deeper and see like what approaches they took with it in this game universe.
Interesting.
Rad.
Yeah, I know after seeing gameplay, I'm more excited. I think after that initial reveal, I was like, cool, you know, I may check it out. But after seeing it in action, I think I'm definitely more excited. Liana is as a bit of a Mass Effect fan. We've talked about it's Mass Effect Light a little bit. Is this something interesting to you?
Yeah, I'm down. I am sold. I remember when Reiner was first talking about it, when we were first allowed to start talking about it, and he was like, it's like Marvel Mass Effect. And I was like, well, okay, well, sold, done.
Fine, yeah.
I don't even need to see it. Like, let's go. And, but yeah, like everything you're saying, Brian, is honestly exactly what I'm looking for. I love the magic of character interaction, and I love world building. And even though this is a universe that, you know, maybe a little bit oversaturated right now with so much media surrounding it, it seems like a new way to experience it, and a great entryway for newcomers, which is great because like I grew up on Marvel, but I know like my partner isn't the biggest comic fan. So this would be a cool way to kind of bridge that love and share that love that I have of Marvel with that person. And I don't know, I'm excited. I want to learn more. I want to hear the corny jokes, because you know they're coming, and all the shenanigans Drax is going to get into. I'm stoked. I'm ready. Like, sign me up. I'm down.
Cool. Well, we don't have too much longer to wait, because I believe October 26th, right?
That is correct.
Yes, on almost every platform. PlayStation platforms, Xbox platforms.
Yeah, boy.
Switch, which I
Switch
think they're
via the
doing
cloud, so you do have to have like an
Yeah.
online connection. I'd recommend wired, but you know that's you have to buy an adapter unless you have an OLED.
Switch OLED, which 6 of us may in the world. Who knows? And then PC, obviously. So I'm excited to see more. If you are clamoring for more, go to youtube.com/GameInformer. Check out our new gameplay today on it, and GameInformer.com. Brian Shea wrote his beautiful heart out, gave you some impressions. So definitely go check those out. You know what they say about a pre-show playlist party, playlist party?
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Everyone knows what they say about that. Shay has to go here pretty quickly, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask him what's on his playlist, because I think he has something he's excited to talk about. Right, Shay?
Yeah, so Deathloop is the big one that I've been like pouring a ton of time into. I know you guys have talked that to death over the past episode or two. But so I've been pouring a lot of time into that. I think it's my game of the year so far. I'm really loving it.
Ooh.
It's beating out Returnal for me currently.
Wow.
But also there is a lot of year left. If you look at the release calendar, like people are like, oh, this is kind of a down year. But then you look at the release calendar, like really look at it. And let me like, it's no 2017. It's no 2022. But holy crap, there are some games coming that I am stoked for. But that's another podcast altogether. The other game that I've been playing, Cruisin' Blast.
Ooh.
Did you ever play Cruisin' USA or Cruisin' World or Cruisin' Exotica on like N64 or in the arcades? Because I grew up on those games on N64.
Yeah, my local pizza shop had a cruising machine.
Yes. So
Cruisin' World was awesome. You could go to the moon.
Yeah, total misnomer of the game, but yes, it spits in the face of the name Cruisin' World. Go into the moon. So, Cruisin' Blast, the Cruisin' series, I would say like its heyday was the 90s. I think Cruisin' USA came out in 94, and then like 96 was World, and then Exotica came out in 99. And ever since then, they've tried a couple times to revive it, and it's just been like a fart where it just isn't good. Like, I think they put out one on Game Boy Advance that was like, it's okay. But it was, it's a Game Boy Advance game, so it couldn't really do like the stuff that like
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was they couldn't do the stuff that they did in the N64, so it was like fine. It was moderately well received, I guess. But then they put out a Wii version just called Cruisin', and it was just utter garbage. And the series was dead pretty much ever since then. And then in 2017, they put out an arcade version with just 5 tracks called Cruisin' Blast. And then they finally brought it to home consoles like last week. And it's only on Switch. But they upped the number of tracks from 5 to 29.
Whoa.
Jeez.
And there's all these like unlockable vehicles. Like I just unlocked like a Triceratops. So it's not just like new cars. Like there's like Corvettes and GTRs and stuff like that. So like there are some licensed vehicles, but like my garage now has a fire truck. It has a Triceratops. It has a motorcycle. It has it has a helicopter for some reason. I think you can unlock a tank and like drift around corners in a tank. Like it's so dumb, but that's what I love about this game is it's like such an unapologetic like throwback to the 90s arcade racers, and like everything from like the theme song to the visual style to like the accessible, approachable like racing where like almost anybody who's ever held a video game controller can pick this up and have fun with it, I think. And it looks really good in action. Like in motion, it is like it doesn't have like the most detailed textures. Like you look at it, and there's definitely some artifacting, but you're usually driving pretty fast in this game, and like it makes up for its lack of like fidelity and resolution and textures in like the pure vibrancy of the colors. Like it's neon, it's bright, it's sparkling. There's explosions happening everywhere. There's like
very 90s.
There's helicopters, there's UFOs, there's dinosaurs, like everything. It's wild, and I'm having a really good time with it. It doesn't have the most depth. Like it's single player or up to 4 players split screen or like local over like 4 switches. If you have 4 friends with 4 switches or 3 friends, 3 switches, 3 copies of the game. Which I don't think many people are going to have that, but you can do it. It's a feature of the game. So, but I don't think there's that much depth when it comes to like playing by myself. Like I'm playing through all the levels right now or all the stages, and it's fun. But I think that the real fun is going to be like having friends over who grew up on Cruisin' like I did and playing with them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Party at Shay's place soon? Question mark?
Yes, everybody's invited. Listeners and podcast hosts.
Be there in 7 years.
Please don't come to my house if you listen.
She's walking to your house. Yeah.
You guys can come. You three
It's
can
on
come.
Switch.
Listeners,
so
not so much.
you can take it on the go.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. Okay, cool. Good to know. Another awesome game and an awesome year. So,
what is it? $40, Shay? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah,
Switch
I think
only?
it was 40.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I'm on a wish list that.
There you go. Shay, I heard Yondu's looking for you. Can you go check and see if he's upstairs?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Can we just like edit the video of like the needle just going through my neck and murdering me?
For you,
I'll do what I
anything.
can.
Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. So here at the GI Show, we like to bring in, aspiring folks, people who are doing good work, right? Who are working their butts off to make the gaming industry better. So we got a very special guest from this little indie outlet. I don't know if you've heard of it, MinMax. Does it sound familiar? Ben freaking Hanson in the building. Hello, sir.
Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show, everybody. I'll take the show from here. I got it. Let's bring Reeves back. Let's get Andy back. It's all happening now.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm so happy we could do this, right? We talked a lot about in the beginning how very much your and Tim Turry's run on the show was very inspiring to us, and
It's very flattering.
we got half the crew. We'll have to get Tim one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Tim's right here. Sony PlayStation.
Is he on a
usual
honeymoon
beat.
or something? I feel like he just
was
got
gonna say.
married. Yeah.
No, he decided to hang out in my basement as a hand puppet instead of
Oh,
going on
wow.
his honeymoon.
Yeah,
so
that's
to each their
wild.
own.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, kids. You too could be a hand puppet in Ben's basement. Nice
Hi, Liana. Nice to podcast with you.
to podcast with you.
What a weird crew you guys assembled here.
That's what we like to keep people.
We
on
brought
their
the
toes.
energy, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always, baby. Bringing that energy. So Ben, do you want to talk about? I mean, I feel like most people know what you're up to these days, right? This is you've built this show. But do you want to talk about what MinMax is doing for maybe the new people?
Yeah, technically, Matt Helgeson built the Game Informer show originally.
That is
yeah.
disrespectful. I apologize.
And no, it's interesting. That's fine. But it's interesting that there's still people that stumble across our podcast. So the MinMax Show podcast with two N's, of course, is the name of a podcast that I do with, Kyle and Jeff Morkia-Fava and a bunch of folks. And Sarah Pozorski's on there a lot. Jenna Garcia we've been working with, and she's great. So it's our weekly podcast. It's coming up on the 2-year anniversary now.
Wow.
For the whole adventure. So there's the podcast, and then there's also the YouTube channel, a bunch of other bonus podcasts like Matt Helgeson's Crossfade podcast, his music podcast. And then we also do game clubs, and that we call the Deepest Dive. So we've done a bunch so far, and we're going to be doing Metroid Dread coming up as a big 2-parter. So a big community playthrough of that and a huge dissection. So it should be a fun time on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Rad.
What do you think is your favorite thing you've been able to do at MinMax that maybe you weren't able to at GI or got the freedom to on your own?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had so much freedom at Game Informer. It was a real luxury. It's a dream job, right? And so it's not like I was craving to do something that was constantly shot down again and again that I can think of. Maybe there are a couple weird ideas that Andy's like, just shut up, you idiot, or something along the lines. But I think, honestly, what's been interesting is like, starting out at Game Informer, I was doing a lot of studio stuff, like replay and then test chamber evolving to do gameplay today, I suppose, all that stuff. And then I slowly transitioned to doing more and more stuff on cover story trips and going out and doing more developer interviews and just cutting together more little video features and stuff like that on studios and traveling so much. And so it's been interesting now with COVID and everything else. Like I haven't been traveling obviously at MinMax. And so it's kind of like this reposition now to like refocus on doing studio stuff again. And it feels like kind of I'm back in the Game Informer studio. Like, okay, collaborating with Leo Vader. Like what can we whip up here? What's an angle we could take on this? And so it's kind of fun to kind of realign those things. But then the great luxury is that it's also a lot of freedom to be like, okay, what are some weird ideas we could throw out there? Let's experiment a little bit and find the boundaries of our community. Because when it's just like that direct feedback from the Patreon community, it's really empowering to have the freedom to do anything. And then it's also terrifying because you then look to the horizon and say, I've got to start sprinting in one direction. And it's basically just a wide open sea there, like which direction are we sprinting? And so, I've lost a little bit of sleep, but you get there. It's been a fun time.
For sure. Do you think that you would do another model outside of the Patreon model, or do you feel like this is the best route for MinMax and creators in this kind of space?
I feel like we had I talked to the Nextlander guys when they were launching their Patreon, And like my message was weird. And as I was saying it, I was really trying to reaffirm it with myself that like, there's not a catch here. It all seems too good to be true. And going 2 years in, like having that direct relationship with the community, and it's like, hey, you help support independent games media. We'll keep making funky, weird stuff. Hopefully makes you happy. It's a clean handshake. It's really wild. And so, yeah, I couldn't imagine another model at this point. You know, obviously growing Twitch and all that stuff to help on the revenue side a little bit, just so we can bring more people on and all that. But no, I think it's really been fantastic so far.
Cool. And might I say, sir, you're doing a hell of a job.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. But hey, look at Liana over here. Look at her backdrop. She's doing great.
Hell yeah, look at
everything you
all
could
that.
ask for.
All the toys.
I've heard you might be. Are you selling things?
I am. I am downsizing. So
If there's an auction, I might be interested in a couple pieces.
The bidding start.
there may be. I have
Let a
so
guy
many. I have
know.
like a couple of duplicates. I found like a Gears of War statue when we were cleaning out one of the rooms. I'm like, I don't know where this came from, so I'm gonna be selling that if you want one of
There you
those
go.
too.
I think
There you
Alex
go.
and I could start a bidding war on that, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy we're all here. This is a great day. Sun is shining, right? Life is good. And we're going to talk about some more video games. How about that, folks? And I can't think of a better game to kick things off with than Kana, Bridge of Spirits. That's right. Kana, not Kenna, if y'all are confused.
You learn
Rewire
something
your
every
brain.
day.
It's
Yeah.
Kana.
I got I can't remember what it's called, but I had to trick my mind to think Kana and Lynch to remember it.
Oh my god.
But it worked, and here we are today. So, Alex,
Timely.
you did the video review for this.
Yeah.
Break it down. What'd you think of Kana?
Yeah, to be clear, I did not review the game for us. I produced the video version. Reiner reviewed it. He gave it a 9. I'm not sure where I would score it, but pretty high, up there for myself. To be honest, I was a little worried going into the weekend. We didn't have. I think. There's a lot of lessons I think Ember Labs learned during the development of this game, and that's clear. And just like the way it's designed, like the tutorialization of the intro kind of reminds me, okay, this is their first shot at this sort of thing. And I think also they, just things kind of ran up to the wire with the release, and I was a little worried, but all worries gone. The game is great. I've played probably 6 or 7 hours since I got the code, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through the game almost. And yeah, I dig it. So if you're unfamiliar, if you're listening, Kana Bridge of Spirits, it's a action adventure game, heavily inspired by, I've seen on Twitter and Discord this week, lots of like, oh, this is like a PlayStation 2 Renaissance game. And I'm like,
yes, absolutely.
yeah, I can definitely see when I was playing it, I was definitely like, okay, this reminds me of not like mascot platformers, but just the way that like older games would bookend their big moments with these, out of engine cutscenes. Like nowadays, like everything's in engine. It's you kind of get what we all know what we're talking about, but yeah, it's kind of like these highly animated, like Pixar-esque cutscenes that bookend the big moments. And that feels very, I don't want to say, I mean, it's dated, but not in a bad way. It just feels like reminiscent of a different time, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
I cannot imagine a better game for Reiner to review. As I've been playing this, I'm like, no wonder Reiner loved this. Oh my God, this is the most Reiner game imaginable, where it's a little
Yeah.
bit throwback, but still looks amazing in so many parts as well. And so it is that weird split of like having a game look so good, but the environments aren't the most interactable. Like you're in the forest for a lot of it, and it's basically just like forest corridors. It feels like a Jack and
Yeah.
Daxter, like Mark of Cree or something. It feels
Yeah.
so old, but looks so good. It's like it's melting my brain trying to combine those two things.
And I will say there are moments when it kind of opens up a little bit more. But yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
you said, in the first, I'd say like 3 hours, it is very much like corridor linear. There's some moments where I was like, I feel like I'm playing Uncharted 1 right now, like with some of the sequences going on. But I will say there are several moments later on that do open up to larger areas with, several different puzzles that you can kind of tackle. Okay, I'm going to go over here and work on this puzzle to kind of clear this part of the forest, because the backdrop is, there's this ancient forest. It's filled with spirits, and there's spirits there because the people died from this bad energy stuff. It's like, I want to call it the rot, but the rot are the name of the creatures in the game. But the dark blob, the dark energy has consumed the forest. And so you're tasked with kind of cleaning up the forest to help find the memories of these spirits that are running around. And that's how you kind of, go through the world and solve their problems so that you can solve your problems, kind of. So
yeah, it's like a death's door, right? You're like going around and freeing these spirits. Actually,
yeah, it's a really good comparison. I've been thinking about that this week, Ben, is that both of these games, I love the way that they treat their bosses and like how they treat death in games, and how both of them have a respect for all of the characters in the game, not just the protagonist. They don't just, oh, here's this bad guy, go beat him up and we'll throw him away. Like, everything feels like, okay, this is a person, this is their spirit, they're upset for some reason, or they're lost or trapped here. How can we're going to have to fight them to free them. But I feel like the story aspect and the way the narrative is written, it feels respectful of the dead, which is and I think Death's Door does that really well. So I like that there's those games kind of are cut from the same cloth in that regard. But how far are you been? I know you said you've been playing it. How are you enjoying it?
I'm probably in that 3 hour or so phase. Like, I just kind of, it seems like I wrapped up the Forgotten Forest area, and it kind of seems like I'm moving on to the next larger area, going after the next mass. Yeah. After that, yeah. Okay. So I'm moving on to kind of get the next mask. It seems if that's the way it's all divided up. But I've really been enjoying it. It's a really smooth game. The story, I'm still not. It's got a nice mood to it, but I'm not convinced that the story I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for. Do you think it picks up a little bit, or is it just kind of, it's fine?
It's fine. Yeah, for as much as I like the way it treats those characters, like I said, the actual overarching story is, it is what it is. It's enjoyable, but it's not anything to write home about.
And so I've really been enjoying my time with it. There are definitely those moments of like, okay, I feel like it wants me to do something and I'm not quite connecting. It's almost like the good and the bad of that kind of PS2 generation, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the objectives sometimes are a little bit murky. How am I supposed to get up this tree and get back down the tree? I guess I'm on the tree and I'm trying to jump back off to get back on the path, but even though the ground is right there, if I jump off, it gives me a game over screen. It's like, just let me land on the ground. There's like little finicky things that'll drive you nuts, but overall, I've really, really been surprised how much I'm into it.
Yeah, and on that murkiness, on the topic of that, there's several puzzles where you don't realize you're walking into a puzzle, and they expect you to know you're trying to solve a puzzle. And I will say, this is the first game I've used the PlayStation hint system, the PS5 hint system, and they are surprisingly robust. They helped me to beat the first main boss of the game. So I already knew what I was supposed to do, but I was like, let me look at the hint. And I was like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, just do it better. But then there was like a specific puzzle. Yeah, it was weird. It just told me to get good.
That's cold.
But
Dan Tack appears with a middle finger. Like.
Yeah, exactly. There was a puzzle though where it's like, hey, and it's like separates the details into 3 steps. So I didn't look at all 3 steps because I didn't want the solution to the puzzle. But they kind of pointed me in like, hey, look over this way. And I did that and I solved the puzzle. So PlayStation hint system, clutch for this game, thumbs up. But I agree with you, Ben. It can sometimes be a little aimless, maybe, in its objectives. So
yeah, you haven't hit on how cute the rot are yet, which really are the stars of the show. They're if you love them, I guess this is a good thing. But they're kind of like the porgs of Kena Bridge of Spirits.
They're better than porgs.
Okay, north of porgs, but still, here's the obnoxiously cute things. And the part that killed me is you can go to these hat stores and unlock stupid little hats. But at first I was like, well, this is dumb. But genuinely what turned me around on it was the idea that you just buy one hat and it goes on one of these little guys that are following you around a little bit like Pikmin in the world and helping you solve things. But I love the idea you can like customize each of them and have to be like, okay, that's the one with this cute fox hat. This is the one with this giant hat over here. And it's just a stupid little detail, but it's just brilliant.
You can have up to 100 rot in the game, and each of them can have an individual hat on.
Damn.
You could literally customize each of them. It's very dumb, but I love it.
Precious.
Are they all named, or do you get to name them too?
No.
I mean, you
Not-
can name them. Yeah, I have a piece
what?
of paper next to me when I play, and I write down the names of it on there. Yeah, that's the way to go.
There goes
Yeah.
Stinky again, and Bartholomew, and yeah.
Yeah. Old Bartholomew.
Good old Bart. I think the one thing I'm curious about with this for you gentlemen, and Liana, you have not played this yet, correct?
Not yet. No, I'm hoping though. Like you guys are kind of. I love cuteness, so you guys are selling me on
Yeah.
it.
And
It
hats.
is cute.
And hats.
Yes,
I do
it's
like
very cute.
hats.
One of the critiques online I was seeing, Hanson, was that the combat is a little lackluster. Do you feel that as well, or do you feel differently?
It's okay. It definitely seems like there's gonna be a lot of repeated enemies. You'll kind of get in the groove of things. You know, having the bow and arrow helps out a little bit. You get that a couple hours in, I guess, and that has the ability to like slow things down as well. So there are moments where it kind of feels like a little Breath of the Wild arrow action happening, including it seems like the main character has some stuff happening with her hand as he's shooting the bow and arrow. So
Yeah.
a little bit like that fabled sequel to Breath of the Wild, apparently.
There we go.
So I feel like I don't know, it's not going to rock your world, but it's more interesting than I thought for the idea of like throwing the rot, who if you're not used to it now, they're the little cute guys that follow you, throwing the rot on enemies and then like popping that when they're being attacked and stuff. So pop and rot, I guess, is the part that makes it feel special and unique.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Young Jeezy song or something.
And you can infuse your items and your weapons rather. You can infuse your weapons with rot for special attacks. So your staff, you can unlock an ability where you infuse it with your rot and you slam the ground down, and it's kind of like that Thor like lightning strike on the ground that goes forward. You can infuse your bow and arrow, so you do this giant super arrow. I don't know, Kamehameha arrow. And then later on in the game, you do unlock. We talked about it in our review, but you can unlock bombs that allow you to solve puzzles, and also you can throw them on enemies that will stun them. And yeah, it's cool. I would push back on it being super simple. I think there's definitely more depth than I was anticipating going into this game. But it's I'd say it's entertaining. I'm, like I said, 7 hours in and haven't really gotten bored of the fights. There's lots of, little mini bosses and elite enemies that require you to hit them on certain, precise hit boxes, on their chest and their back, or sometimes their elbow. Like it's very much like the look for the glowing part of the body and try to hit that. And each enemy, definitely like I'm in the second main area after the forest, and there's definitely been an increase in new sorts of mini bosses and enemies that I run into. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Something kind of fun to go back and look at is Ember Labs on their official site. They're like a VFX company. This is their first, at least big game, which is wild. It's one of the reasons the game looks so good and probably has that kind of old school cut to cutscenes moment where everything looks great. But on their official site, they have a Majora's Mask fan film that they released back in 2016, and it locks everything in place when you look at this game again, especially because there's so many masks in this game as well. It's like, okay, these people love Zelda, and to the point that they spent a lot of time and money on just making a Majora's Mask fan film. So it's fun to see this new studio completely out of the blue, but I think they're going to be around for a long time based on the quality of this thing.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm so happy to hear that. I shared Alex's anxiety when he was like, "Hey, still no code." So I was like, "Oh boy, this does not look good." But thankfully, it according to Andrew Reiner's review and you gentlemen, it is good. What did Reiner give it, by the way?
9.
9 is fine.
9 is fine.
9 is fine.
9 is fine.
It's a little better than fine. But
Well, yeah, I meant fine like foin. Like
What is
good.
boy?
Yeah,
got that.
exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, video review is on YouTube. I guess I should ask, do you guys have anything else you'd want to add before we move on to the next game?
How hard can I hit that like button on that video review?
Oh,
just
bro.
Really?
infuse your finger with rot
Oh my God.
and just
it already is.
smack down that like button. Not
probably-
smash.
Probably get that checked out.
Oh, it's just age. The video reviews thing is very impressive, y'all. If you're just listening to the podcast, you can go check out these video reviews on Game Informer's YouTube channel. It's something I was way too scared of for years and years, but I love that when I get out of the way, then it's like, okay, we're finally doing these things. So hopefully they've been fun on your end to put together.
I think you were right to be scared like a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look, quietly, I'm like, I think I made the right call, but I'm glad you all are doing it now, and I don't have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was your parting word to me. It was like, you go do this. I don't want to do this. Yeah, thank you for that. There's a whole playlist with them. I love cutting them
I think
together.
we've got like 40 video reviews now.
Yeah,
Since
it's crazy.
Oh my
last
God.
year. They're this fall is gonna
There's gonna be 40 this fall.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, far be it from me to critique anything about this new era of video at Game Informer. I think you all are doing an amazing job. I hopefully kissed your butt enough in person.
Thank
We
you.
got some drinks not too long ago. But honestly, there's so many things where it's like, I could not go near it, especially like the motion graphics stuff. It just looks fantastic. Even small things like putting the gameplay before the Game Informer logo. Like, well, I wouldn't have done that, but yeah, clearly it's better. Shake it up, please. It's great. It changes great. Go for it. But I got one bone to pick with you.
Oh no.
Let's do it.
I saw
You
this
say
and I
the
was.
song. I swear to God.
What?
Oh, the intro music of the podcast? No. I never left a comment, but I do like the new music on the podcast, I will say. No comment about the last era, but the music is very good. But the rapid fire with Midnight Suns, Jake Solomon, lovely, one of the most charming guys in the industry, just a delight. You use the record scratch.
Oh.
The record scratch sound
I had
effect.
nothing to do with that.
It was outrageous. I've tried to go my entire career in video production not using the record scratch sound effect. When I heard that in a Game Informer video, I threw my laptop across
your
the
desk,
living room. I was outraged.
It felt like the perfect moment. How could I not for that? Ben Reeves
No, you
deadpanning,
were
asking
rightfully
people.
outraged.
It's a hack move, dude. It's a hack move. I'm sorry.
Dang.
Get him out of here. Get him out of the Discord server.
All right, I'll see you. Other
back
than that,
him
it
up.
was great. Everybody's doing a great job except for that one sound effect. Other than that, it's perfect.
I'm gonna hand in my resignation now. This was it. That was the one controversy. Oh
right, sorry.
well. I was gonna go to you next, Ben, to feel to
No,
see what you were
please don't.
playing. I don't
Please
want to. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I get that a lot.
Liana, my friend.
Yes, my friend.
What are we playing? What do we got going on here?
We are playing a little game called Life is Strange 2 Colors.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have been very vocal about my love for this game. I am going back in for a second playthrough to see if any of my choices come up with different outcomes. And probably not the best time because I'm in a very transitory place in my life and there's a lot of emotions that go with that. And this is a game that is all about emotions. So a lot more like gross sobbing. I didn't realize how ugly of a crier I was until I started playing this game and I tried to stream and I was like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to keep
So
that
you're
camera
saying that
off.
In real life, you have the superpower of empathy? Is that your theory?
Maybe that would explain a lot.
Okay. All
that would
right. Way
explain
to go.
too much. But yeah, I didn't think I really fell in love with the original Life is Strange. Like Chloe and Max, I loved their story. I didn't think anything was going to top that. I think True Colors takes the crown. Like, I really do. I feel like it's a very important message. A lot of people, especially with 2020 and quarantines, people really disconnected from empathy and looking at each other as people versus the next hot topic or discourse or whatever. And I think that it's a very simplistic message and it shows that life is not easy and life is messy and feelings are messy and sometimes life can turn people and twist people from their original selves. And that's okay, because sometimes we get lost. We always find our way back home. And I think it's going to inspire a lot of forgiveness in people. And I think that's beautiful. I think, I've been hurt by people in the past, and I'm sure I've hurt others in the past. And it really kind of makes you hone in on your own life and look at it through a different lens of like, okay, how could I have reacted better in this situation on both sides? And I think that's important. I think that's a really hard balance to do because sometimes if you lean in too much into that in a game, you lose the entertainment factor. And it never felt forced. It never felt shoved down your throat. Alex Chen is an amazing character. He reminds me of my best friend Hoy, and who lives in Seattle. And I loved seeing that character flourish and struggle and conquer. And just her heart is is beautiful, and seeing her and watching her find her heart again, I just think was an experience that everybody should check out. It was gorgeous. I loved it.
And I think
I can't wait to play this.
Oh yeah, this is one of my in a year full of surprises for me, just because I think COVID has pushed a lot of the games that I would be gravitating towards this year. This is one of my surprises of the year because I've not been a Life is Strange fan until this point, and I think what sells that is the performances and the writing is really impressive. I don't know. I know they did mocap, but like the eye work was really impressive to me. Like I remember when Cyberpunk came out, and was it, I can't remember what character, Jill or whatever, like her eyes were moving and in a human like way, and everyone lost their minds. And it's not that, but
yeah, different eye styles.
but the performance capture does such a good job of capturing like the little moments, which I think is so important in telling a story about this, where, you know, those little moments speak the loudest. And I talked about it when Kim was on and when we did the review. I think it personifies and visualizes some mental health things a lot better than almost any game has. You know, I guess I don't know what spoilers in this, right? But there are a couple of sequences that not gamify, but like things get a little weird, but in a good way that I was very impressed with and relate to some of the things in my life, you know.
Yeah.
So Hanson, have you given this one a shot?
I haven't. No, I really enjoyed Life is Strange 1, and then I kind of checked out of the series after that. But it's nice that this is a good entry point. Not having 3 on there, I think, is important. It makes you feel like an idiot for talking about the combat maneuvers in Cana, and then it's like this game is just a mirror to reflect on your own life with. Like,
You know,
how
no
do you compete
big.
with that?
Yeah.
My God.
Just existential dread and midlife crises and
Yeah, I'm very interested in, you know, just lifelike performances in games, though. And so even listening to this podcast and hearing Kim really rave about Alex as a character as well, it's like, okay, I at least want to play the first episode just to kind of wrap my mind around what they're doing here. Deck 9, that's the studio who made this one, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about it.
it's
Shout out to all the Colorado game dev companies. Deck 9 leading the charge.
That's right.
Shout
In
out.
Minnesota, we got Monster. We've got the Oregon Trail was made here 50 years ago.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Probably some others.
YouTube.com/minmax.
winner.
That's right. Yeah. We'll take it.
Yeah. I think especially because this came out amidst what? NBA, Tales of Arise, WarioWare, all great games, right? I think this is gonna fall into that category of ones people missed. I think or forgot about when we get to Game of the Year talks. Not saying it's like my Game of the Year, but like it's definitely gonna be in my
Game
top
of the year
10
right now.
Is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
100%.
Wow, I love it. In a year where we get Mass Effect, Life is Strange coming out strong.
I gave Mass Effect 10 years of my life. It's I'll give 2021 a little bit of a break.
There you go.
So I would really encourage, especially I think the next we've had a glut of games, right? But I feel like the next couple weeks are a little quieter, maybe.
Before the storm.
Yeah, for real. Before the storm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We're gonna pretend I did that on purpose.
So I would say if y'all are bored and need something to play, like it is really, I think it's a special game, and I think the writing in it is very special. So
If you're going through anything too, like it's a really safe way to deal with your emotions. You're gonna cry,
bring tissues.
but yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things where it's sometimes the loudest and biggest impact are in the quietest moments in that game, and I think it's just so beautiful.
And I love to, before we move off of it, I think the episodic release really turned me off from the older games.
Yeah.
They structure it in a way where it is episodic, but it's like you can binge it, right? It's like a Netflix show or adventure game type of thing. And I really appreciated that. I felt like I knew I had good points where I could take a break, but then come back to. And I just like when Telltale tried to do it too, like I was like, I'm going to move on to different things. I'm not going to be as interested. So I think I really like the approach Deck 9 took with this one. So,
But how are the boss fights in the game?
bro,
How's the
You
difficulty
can't
curve?
pro rot,
it
so that's already a
feels
knock against it.
reminiscent of the N64 era, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna infuse my tears with rot.
Yeah, it was weird when I had to throw the Typhon guard off the ledge by his tail. You know, not my favorite fight, but
What do you think? What do y'all think is the most emotional N64 game?
Wave
Probably one
Runner
of
or
the-
Wave Race.
Wave Race. I was gonna say.
Right in the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like Banjo.
Okay.
I don't
Well, is this
know.
like you just feeling happy because you're a kid? I mean, it's probably
Yeah, what
Ocarina.
emotion? Yeah.
Right. It's got to be Ocarina of Majora's, right?
That's what I was gonna say,
Like
yeah. I was
for
gonna say
actually
Ocarina.
trying to convey the most emotion compared to everything else on the platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that era is so hard to even get any human emotion across, right? Because I feel like that era has aged the poorest visually, right? Game wise.
You say that, but when was the last time you went back to Glover? I mean, honestly, come on now.
What year is it? I don't know.
No, you're gonna miss out on much.
I still have my Commodore if you want to compare.
Oh,
Go
that's
ahead
true.
and see.
Yeah.
That's
Lord,
the true
I-
epitome of graphics.
Oh,
Some Virtual Boy action, perhaps. Icky. Well, if you're curious, go check out video review. Go check out the review on the sites. Did y'all cover it over at MinMax?
Janet Garcia is currently playing it, so we talked about it a little bit on the MinMax Show podcast, yeah, but haven't really done a full breakdown of it yet.
Cool. Well, look forward to that. I'm excited to hear what Janet has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liana, is there anything else, or shall we move on?
Usual Destiny grind. You know what I'm always doing.
Yeah.
It's my life.
Now it's your job.
Now it's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grind of the 9 to 5. Now you got 2 layers of grinding. Yeah, my God.
There we go.
Good times.
Good times. Good times. Hanson,
Yeah.
what the heck have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh, it's very exciting days. And this is where everybody turns off the podcast. I feel like this is podcast kryptonite. I'm so worried about it. Age of Empires 4.
Yeah.
All right. Are you with me?
We got one.
My husband's
I
with
grew
you.
up playing Age of Empires. I love Age of Empires.
Oh, Liana said your husband is into Age of Empires?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good. Honestly, okay, good.
That's
good.
like his thing.
Normally it's just a cold, dead stare whenever I bring up Age of Empires with anybody, especially on a podcast. But this last weekend they had their technical stress test,
Okay.
as they put it. So you had 4 civilizations, but they had full multiplayer up and running. I'm sure they're missing
Oh.
some bells and whistles and stuff. Although, strangely enough, bells they had included, because it seems like with the community, the number one takeaway is that every time you click on the town center in this RTS, they have a bell sound. It's like ding,
Yeah.
ding. And for some reason, it was coming in at like 500 decibels. So now there's just like this big meme in the community of like, ding, ding, Age of Empires 4, ding, ding. And the devs had to be like, relax, everybody. We're turning down the ding, ding.
That's great.
But other than that, I mean, it's been a long time coming. They announced this thing back in 2017. And I would love to know what's going on behind the scenes, how much dev trouble is happening there. It seems like a complicated one because you have Relic, the company of Heroes Studio, developing this thing. But then that's going through World's Edge, which is Microsoft's new studio focused on kind of managing the Age of Empires series. So it seems like there's the potential for a lot of fingers in this pie. And what they
Yeah.
ended up creating based on the stress test so far is it's very, very, very Age of Empires 2,
Okay.
which
That's-
if any-
I like
is
that.
that good? Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's the thing. So the big takeaway after the stress test is like they could have called this a remake of Age of Empires 2 realistically.
Okay.
But I think it's by and large a really smart move. Like the hardcore RTS fans out there are complaining like, oh, it's not reinventing the genre. It's not doing enough. They have tweaked a lot of things. There's some new civs in here that react differently. They made some really smart choices just on stuff like, hotkeys, town center management, very, micro stuff in the big picture. But at the same time, I think they are playing it's a smart move, I think, to go for Age of Empires 2, which I have to imagine is the best selling of the entire Age series, and just try and get the broadest base possible of, please, for the love of God, if anybody remembers enjoying RTS games back in 1999, come back and check out Age of Empires 4. Alex, not a RTS fan?
Not in 1990, not in ever, I don't think.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance you would ever try one and give it into one?
Well, I was gonna ask. I'm very familiar with Age of Empires when it comes to its pedigree amongst like strategy.
Sure.
Is this a space where I can jump into with 4?
I think so. I think the knock against this, especially amongst people who eventually review it, will probably be that it's too simple relatively. And, for me, I've been playing these games for a long time. Age of Mythology is my favorite by a mile. I still play that game a lot. And so jumping into this stress test, it was wild. It's like, oh, it is just slipping on an old glove. Is that the expression?
Sure.
Is that too
It's
O.J.
now.
Simpsonified? I don't know.
no.
Riding an old bike. What's a better version? But no, so it's it just feels so comfortable to jump right into. So I would, in my mind, it's a piece of cake, and I'd be curious to see like what some newcomers to the franchise, what they would think about the experience. But I think, especially compared to some really fast-paced RTSs out there, even like the evolution of StarCraft 2, I think it is such a smooth, soft, friendly RTS experience. The competitive scene, I'm sure, will exist, but come on, who cares? It's just a friendly RTS. But
I kind of like that though, because I'm Warcraft 2 is my favorite. Tides of Darkness, my favorite RTS game. Age of Empires 2 is up there. I've always enjoyed StarCraft, but I'm the guy I really like to play in multiplayer, and the multiplayer scene, obviously, in that game in particular, StarCraft 2, was ridiculous. Like they've got like the actions per minute. By the 4-minute and 20-second mark, you have to have 3 pylons crafted and need to be working on your barracks or what. Like they've got it down to a science, and that was not enjoyable for me because I am somebody who kind of just likes to, what am I feeling this game, right? Do I want to, turtle up and, build a bunch of walls? Do I want to do this? I feel like in StarCraft, you kind of had your main, everybody was kind of working towards this like one strategy. And it's like, okay, can I do it faster? Can I do it more efficiently? Whereas I feel like Age of Empires, there's always been a little more leniency in your strategy and like what you're going to do. And it sounds like it's kind of either retaining that or doubling down on that with this more simplistic approach.
Yeah, I mean, simplistic in the realm of it's
RTS.
Probably has as much complexity as like Age of Empires 2, and you go back and look at that, and maybe that does feel a little bit simple compared to the evolution of the genre overall. But yeah, in another world, I guess you could say, StarCraft 2 is like, you need to be on it, just chugging coffee in the morning, playing it and screaming. Whereas Age of Empires, and especially Age of Empires 4, it's like, sit back at night with a nice scotch, enjoy your time, build up some farms, scout around, convert some people with the priests. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to it because the only real like strategy games I've played lately, really in like the last 5 or 6 years, maybe further back, are 4X games. So Civ 5. I recently played Humankind in September. I really liked that game. I have not played like a traditional RTS in a hot minute. It's been a while. So Age of Empires 4, hearing that, it's more the same. I'm okay with that. I know, hardcore fans are, going to want more, but as somebody who's kind of, I would say lapsed, hearing that it's similar to Age of Empires 2, which is my favorite, was good. So
yeah. And it's like more of the same, but we haven't had that same from this series for so long that I hope every old fan comes out of the woodwork and we have some good times playing multiplayer because it's coming out end of October. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's another one.
Great.
I think that, to answer your question earlier, Hanson, I think my dumb boy brain thinks it can handle that, right? Because that's partially why I've stayed away from strategy, is like, I don't feel like I'm smart enough for some of these and to enjoy it fully. I feel like I'd get dunked on in multiplayer, but it sounds like this is a little bit more simplistic in a good way, from what you're talking about.
Yeah, as another fellow dumb boy, like I could not handle Civilization. I'm not great with 4X games in general, and some RTS games also I just can't wrap my brain around. But hopefully this will thread that needle for everybody. Even I'm sure the hardcore fans are going to be furious about it. They've been furious about it since the reveal and saying the graphics look crappy, all this stuff. But I think there's going to be an audience for this game.
For sure.
Awesome.
And, I mean, hardcore fans are mad about everything. Smash fans, the whole thing. So.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that coming to Game Pass?
On PC, yeah.
Okay, cool. So,
there you go.
Never say never, right?
There you go.
That's a big thing.
There you go.
I don't have a good transition into this, so I'm gonna blink into it. I'm just gonna appear. I'm gonna wrap up this playlist with Deathloop because oh my Lanta, oh my goodness. So when we talked about it last week, I was only about 45 minutes in, and I was a very tired boy. As you can see, new background.
Yeah, you said you fell asleep, and I took that personally.
I loved your reaction too. I should have clipped it. There's a moment where it clicks what I said, and you just go, Like I just like blasphemed against you and our Lord and Savior Dinga. No, I took Friday off last week, and it was refreshing because, you know, most games I'm playing right now are for work, and, you know, I didn't have to do that. And I was like, okay, I'll play an hour or two of Deathloop. I'll move some boxes around. My butt was on the couch for like 7 hours straight. And I felt like the Timmy Turner gif of like him playing video games and his eyes are bloodshot and whatnot. Arcane's games have never stuck for me. I feel like I am the same spot in Prey that I was in Dishonored, like 4 hours in, like, I mean, like, I will get back to this, and I never do. There is such Deathloop has grabbed me in a way that I did not. I mean, I was excited for it, right? Especially with our coverage, right? But it is envelops me in ways that I wasn't ready for. And I think I was worried, even being in the industry, I wasn't quite clear on some of the messaging, because going into this, I was like, okay, everything's going to be timed. This is going to be a roguelike where it's like, I'm going to lose everything after a run. Arcane's games have been a little bit more challenging. I feel like the Dishonored games are harder, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to be more of a roguelike than I want, and that's going to turn me off pretty quickly. But the way Arcane handles those systems are so smart, because the enemies never feel that overwhelming unless you jump into like Dorsey Square with just you and 6 other guys, right? Then you're going to get overwhelmed. But I always felt like even if I goofed a situation, I could always like get my way out of it, whether I use an ability to blink out of it, whether I, you know, had the right gun that I scoped from a Juliana who made the mistake of entering my game. It has been so impressive and makes you feel smart in how you do your prep, right? How you handle situations, and it feels very rewarding for people who take their time to find the different, because there's so many different ways to do everything, right? And it has that it's clicked in that way where it's very much, okay, if I know I've stumbled upon this exit, right? So I can, next time I do this, I can go up here, I can do that. Like, you know, it's clicking in such a way with the abilities and weapons that I'm enamored with this game, and I love it. I've loved every second of it. It's so good. Besides, there's one moment that I didn't love, and I talked to Joe Juba about this last night. He and I both have run into bugs now where we'll hit pause, we'll go through the menu real quick, and then it won't let us out of the menu, and then you have to hard restart.
That is so strange. Yeah.
And like, it is, I sent Alex a picture, but it's like, you literally can go through the entire map and you know, the menu system, right? But you cannot get out no matter what you do. So that resulted in a very frustrating hour and a half loss of progress on, you know, I finally unlocked some big story stuff, and I was really jacked about that. I was like, okay, cool. Final, like, I wasn't beating the game, but I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see how everything's
that
flowing
final
in together.
Big reveal.
Yeah. And then it happened, and I lost like an hour and a half. And I haven't been back yet. I'm going to.
I did not have any of that happen.
Good.
That sucks.
I'm happy you didn't, because it was a lot. And Joe texted me too. He was like, I think you cursed me, because that bug you talked about, I just got as well. So.
Oh no, is this PS5?
PS5. Yep.
Okay.
I wonder if like one of the like post-launch patches introduced that bug, because I played it for the most part all pre-release. I don't know. That sucks.
Yeah. And I haven't seen a ton of outcry about it online. So maybe it is smaller, but or maybe it's just transmitted by me. Who knows? Maybe I've started the Deathloop.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're like a gaming STD.
Oof. Yeah.
Congratulations.
STAD.
That's something to put on your business card
to make sure I never get hired or friends again. This will be good. So I feel like it's a freezing cold take at this point to be like Deathloop good, but I just wanted to express that this is Arcane's, like, I think this is their finest experience so far, and
Celebrate games, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to keep playing. There's been some games I've had to play for work. I was like, yeah, this is fun, cool, but when do I get to go back to play Deathloop?
Right.
Yeah.
They're kind of like carrying that torch forward of immersive sims, that Looking Glass used to be known for. I feel like it's like Arcane and kind of IO Interactive, although when I said Hitman was an immersive sim, they said they didn't consider it one. They said they consider it a puzzle game, which I've always kind of considered an immersive sim, but hey, the people that make it said no. But yeah, like I feel like Arcane are the ones that are carrying that torch forward, and immersive sims are my favorite, like subgenre. I feel like it's so specific, it's hard to call it like its own genre, but yeah, so
I feel like
I love it. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Genuinely, it is one of my favorite experiences of the year. I also feel like that's one where it's like, how the creator of the GIF said it's a GIF. That's one we can just ignore. Like, that's an immersive sim. Like, we can believe what we want on that. Everything just makes you feel smart and ingrained in it. I found myself turning off Juliana a little bit the further I get in, because now it's like, okay, I'm piecing things together and I don't want to get smacked by like Van Aken, who just decides to, go on a tirade, or Jesse Vitelli's like, I'm going to torture Stadnik.
Doing that. Yeah, I started to feel bad about doing that. I did try to raid you the other night.
Oh, did you?
You were unavailable. Somebody else was raiding you.
Get in line, buddy.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go play Kana.
Yeah.
Like I sit in this menu for 30 minutes till I can raid him, or I can go play a game.
Yeah.
So
I'll throw it on friends only next time. So
yeah.
I agree with you and Blake on the Juliana stuff. It adds such a layer of tension that makes it a special experience. But it is nice to know that, okay, it's like, okay, I've gotten 3 visionaries down. This was fun, online people. Thanks for playing, but also get the hell out of my game. So
yeah. I will say it's funny. Like, we played pre-release multiplayer, and it's been interesting to see how much more aggressive that game has been.
Yeah.
Post-launch, which is interesting because I don't know if we were anticipating that. Just because pre-launch, it was very much, I'd get invaded like once per loop by a real person. And post-launch, there's been so many people playing the game, it's every single section of the loop, 4 times per loop. And I wonder if they'll tweak that frequency going forward, like behind the scenes or not. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it seems like definitely the way to go is to set it to friends only, so it has some real impact. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit overwhelming, and there's no fun. You want to be able to text somebody and make fun of them after you kill them in Deathloop.
I think friends only is the like purest way to kind of get the best of both worlds, right?
Right.
And to know where to direct your anger when you have a legendary nail gun. So and you lose it to Juliana. So I shout out to Arcane. Like that's. I don't know where this ranks on my top 10, but
it's my game of the year.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna win everybody's. Maybe Life is Strange True Colors, but I think like outlet wise, I think it's gonna be Deathloop for game of the year for basically everybody.
Psychonauts 2, I feel had it for like 3 weeks. Like
Really? Okay.
I feel like a lot of journos were like, because I feel like Double Fine is so celebrated, outside of the game space as well, but like especially, by journalists, especially with their recent, the fun games, but also they're doubling down on not doing crunch, like that kind of stuff. They're doing a lot of things right, and it just feels like this was the culmination of that, and it was my game of the year for 2-3 weeks, and now we'll have to wait and see how that. I
still need to play it.
It's so good. Oh, I love that game so much.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time for. It's getting a little dirty in here. Let's do some housekeeping community email, shall we?
Yeah.
Alex.
Yes.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah, what's up?
I want you to put a record scratch behind everything Ben says. Every single thing.
What have you done?
Revenge.
I sound like a fool.
You started this. This is your battle.
You started it, man.
Housekeeping.
Yeah, let's get funky with it. Welcome back to the GI Show. Alex Van Aken, as always, let's tidy up. Let's keep some house.
Yes. Housekeeping. The announcements you need to know from everything in the Game Informer world. That's not the tagline. I just said that weird. We always set the show, this section of the show, reading off a review from Apple Podcasts. If you go out of your way to leave us a review, we want to say thank you, shout you out, and read it off because it helps us in the long run. So this review is 5 stars from Bobby MN. So I don't know if that's Bob Buell or not. I'm not sure. Bobby MN.
He's an Ohio boy.
Oh, never mind. Bobby OH. That's what I should look for.
Yeah, I'm
Bobby
excited.
MN says, great podcast. Been listening since the Hanson days, and it feels like the podcast is getting closer to those days, which is great. Great job, Alex and Alex. Bobby from Minnesota. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate you, my friend. That
Thanks,
was very
Bobby.
nice. Thank you for leaving that review, my friend. Appreciate it. Upcoming Twitch streams. What are we doing this week, Alex? What do we got going on? in
Liana,
Twitch?
what are we doing on Twitch?
Phasmophobia?
Phasmophobia.
Like, okay, real talk. I've been trying to get everybody to play Phasmophobia for a freaking year, and it's finally happening. Yes.
Today is the day.
Wow.
You, Dan, and I did it last year.
And you killed me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not over. I will take that to my grave. You left me for a demon, Alex. We were bros, man.
Here's the deal, Liana. I was terrified out of my mind. I was getting everyone out. Things were flashing. I didn't know what was happening. Did I do it on purpose?
Yes.
Maybe. Will we find out if here the stream will tell if I'm actually a maniacal
Yes.
It's gonna be me just hiding behind Dan again because I kept crouching behind him in the corner, like, save me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we doing that at 2 p.m. Central, right?
2 p.m.
Phasmophobia. It's the year anniversary of Phasmophobia, right?
Which is wild, man. Time doesn't matter anymore. It's just
No.
Yeah, that's true.
it just blurs by. And
Actually,
then,
weirdly, that game feels like it was 2 years ago for some reason to me. So I don't know what that says about me, but
we
yeah.
can
getting old.
dissect it
That's
later.
what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're also doing the Nintendo Direct watch along at 5 o'clock. Nintendo likes to change it up, and
Yeah,
really
what
do.
the heck?
yeah, like what the Pokemon Direct was like 8 a.m. right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
some directs are at 3:30 in the morning. You never know
Yeah,
what's happening.
I feel like
here.
they just like have like a chart of like times of day, and
Yeah.
somebody starts like moving his hand around, and he closes his eyes and like go, and it's like 4:15 a.m. All right, like,
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a watch along for that. With we would have used that as news of the week, like I said earlier, but this podcast is coming out too closely to that, and we don't want to
Yeah.
sound like complete boobs like we usually do. You know.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that is at 5 p.m. Central, that Nintendo Watch Along, twitch.tv/Game Informer. We got some YouTube videos going up this week. If you missed it, we had our Kana Bridge of Spirits video review that we mentioned earlier. That is over at youtube.com/Game Informer. We've got a Guardians of the Galaxy New Gameplay Today episode. So go check that out. And then I've been working on I don't think it's not going to be up by the time you listen to this, but keep an eye out. I've got a Deathloop video essay in the works. So keep an eye out.
I see.
Keep an eye out for that probably early next week at this point. But yeah, that's YouTube 2022 video game release schedule. That is up on the site. Go check that out. Bookmark that so that you can keep up with all the latest game releases as they get scheduled out over the next year. Lastly, social media plugs. Ben, where can people find you on Twitter, on Instagram, all that fun stuff?
They can find me on Twitter at Yozetty, Yozetty, a name I created back in 1997 for Age of Empires 1. So it all full circle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Of course, you can follow Liana at Dirty Effin' Hippie. You can follow Alex Stadnik, our wonderful host, at Studnik76, STUDNIK76. You can follow Mr. Brian Shea at Brian P. Shea, and you can follow me at It's Van Aken, ITSVANAKEN. Alex, that is all of housekeeping. Back to you.
Well, thanks, Alex. Today we have a lovely forecast of heat map, baby. We're getting hot out here today.
Woo!
You sweating? Because I know I am. Welcome to our favorite new community section. This is the part of the show where y'all don't just write in, you voice in. You send us a MP3 and an AAC, which I found out today works.
Via telepathy.
Yeah.
You send us your words.
Yeah, if you could just read my mind and talk to me that way, that'd be great. But we feel like this is your opportunity to be a part of the show. Give us some heat, give us some spicy takes, respectfully, of course.
Right.
We want some sizzling hot takes, but nothing disrespectful, because we're just not gonna play it then if you send in a bunch of mean junk. So
Hang on, are you getting a lot of mean junk with this much of a forward? I'm imagining just vile filth being sent your way.
no smut has been
It's
sent
preemptive.
so far.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Actually,
Okay, smart.
Yeah, the community has been very, very good with this. I've really enjoyed everyone's hot take so far. This is the only second time we've done it, but to get your hot take read on Heat Map, send it to podcast@gameinformer.com. That's where you'd send your normal normal emails that we'll read off later in the show. But now's the time to get sweaty. We are going to rank these.
Do we have a standardized ranking system yet?
We
We did like peppers one time.
We did the Scoville
right.
scale, and I think since I didn't prepare any other way, I think that's
we're just
how
gonna
we're gonna
fly
rank
by
it.
the seat of our pants.
Yeah,
I love it.
So the top is pure capskin. How do you spell
Capsaicin.
that? Capskin. Don't laugh at me.
You never heard of capsaicin?
No,
I'm
I've never
already
heard of it.
confused.
Bro, I sweat at Honey Barbecue at B-dubs. Don't give me that.
I've got the list up from last
Okay,
time.
all right. So
The Scoville scale.
Alex can throw it up because he can obviously pronounce these better than I can. But 0 is bell pepper. I don't think this week we're gonna have any zeros. But
Awesome.
this first one comes from. Let me pull up my notes. A little take on EA and the Star Wars license, shall we?
Oh, love it.
Hello, Game Informer crew. My name is Jonah from Washington, D.C., and here's my hot take. EA actually did an okay job with the Star Wars license. Now, hear me out on this. I know there's a lot of angst over the canceled Amy Hennig game and the horrible way microtransactions were handled on Battlefront 2, but if you take away the microtransactions, Battlefront 2 is an awesome shooter. Star Wars Squadrons is a really fun self-contained flight simulator, and Jedi Fallen Order is a cool Souls-light that opens up a whole new universe of side stories to explore. So, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with the output that EA's had over the last few years. So let me know what you think. Could other companies have done better?
There you go.
I
That's
love
a bell
that.
pepper.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
said no
think
bell peppers. That was a bell pepper.
I don't know. I feel
That
like
was
an
the
eyebrow
nicest
would be
voicemail ever.
raised. If they brought that up in a meeting at Game Informer, I think people would be like, really? EA? Really? But I do feel like they're right. I mean, it's kind of in this larger theme of EA, especially this year, having a really strong year. And it's like, I think they're totally right. If you go back and say, okay, right when the whole deal was signed with EA LucasArts, like the games that will be released, he listed off like, okay, you will have basically Star Wars Dark Souls from Respawn, and it'll be universally loved. You'll have several takes on Battlefront, like a reimagining of Battlefront. And Battlefront 2, I just played a lot of that like a couple weeks ago. Shockingly fun.
It really
fun.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't tell that it was an abomination upon launch. Like, there's enough really good stuff here to wipe away a lot of the, mess ups along the way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Liana, what were you
I
going to say?
agree. I agree. Well, I think too, like, okay, you want to talk about hot takes? I think my take's going to be hotter than the hot take. Because, like, I feel like EA has really boinked it in the past. They've done really horrible layoffs. They've done really abrupt closures that look from public facing really public, like just really abrupt and weird and bad decisions. And a lot of their showcases aren't geared towards gamers. They're geared towards investors. Therefore, they are not clicking with gamers. And I think that's a really big distinction. But I feel like also when we call out those types of companies that are making such drastic bad decisions, like the microtransactions, when Battlefront 2 first launched, it launched with hidden pay to win microtransactions. And there was coding that came out publicly where it said like, it was designed specifically to make players feel reliant on buying these loot boxes. That's why a lot of people were upset. That's crappy, right? But like, I feel like when we call out these companies and then they actually make the work to be better, to do better, we need to recognize that. In the last 2 years, I feel like EA has brought in a lot of new talent. And I think investors really leaned on them in a way that they had to listen. And I think it's important to look at that. They realize like, oh, we shouldn't have cuckolded BioWare like that. Like we shouldn't have, really restricted these creative teams. And they did. They tore BioWare apart. But I think they finally learned that lesson. Like they are very hands off with a lot of the studios they have now, and they're trusting the creative vision, and they're being less hands on. And I think that's really important to recognize. And I think also losing the Star Wars IP is good too, because they still have Star Wars in the works, and there's
Just not exclusively.
just not exclusive. And that's going to make them like have to up their A game. Like, okay, now we actually like, we don't hold this exclusivity. So we need to really bring the heat and make it like good. Let's not piss off the gamers. And Squadrons was a good example of that. They honored the promises they made pre-launch and people were happy. And I think Yeah, I think the Star Wars universe, I didn't want to like Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't think I was going to like it. Nothing about it appealed to me. And I genuinely loved my time with that game. I was very sad to see it end. I got to give props, man. I feel like they did well.
Respawn's been a godsend for that company. Like they really
Big time.
Outside of maybe a few examples. I don't know how the Medal of Honor VR game went over, but like I feel like Respawn's in that category of not missing with Titanfall.
Oh, you mean the Oscar award winning Medal of Honor VR game?
Yeah, what is life?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah. So obviously the Academy loved it. So but once again, Respawn doesn't miss. I wonder where this conversation is without Fallen Order, because I feel like that is the game that kind of made everyone go, oh, okay. Yeah. This is what this could have been if handled a little bit better, right? And I'm with you, Hanson. Like I picked up Fallen Order within the last Battlefront 2 in the last 11 months. Yeah. And I was blown away because as I've said on this podcast, it's the only game in my life that I've canceled my pre-order. When reviews came out, I wasn't in the industry at the time. So when the reviews came out of it and it was like, this is disgusting what they're doing here. Yeah. I was out, but then playing it now, it bums me out because I think that had the chops to be one of the best FPSs we've had in a little bit, and just. But I think looking at the scale overall, you have to look at it right of what we got instead of what we didn't, which I think is probably a healthier way to look at things, right? Because it's easy to lament 1313 in the Amy Hennig game, but I think what's there has been promising, and like Liana said, if now we can get some competition. Like Battlefront 3 could, if Battlefront 3 exists, which I can't imagine it wouldn't, right? Like eventually.
I wasn't under the impression that EA is still making Star Wars games. I mean, other than continuing to support Old Republic, have they said that like the Star Wars license is now? Because I know I guess Ubisoft is making theirs, so it's just kind of like the exclusivity is gone. But okay,
they came out like a week later saying this doesn't mean like we still have Star Wars. I think they have 2 Star Wars games in the works. I think that's.
Oh, I guess like Fallen Order 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's right. Of course,
they just don't have the exclusivity, and
gotcha.
I think that's good. I think competition is healthy.
Yes.
I'm kind of coming around to Liana's point of that being a bell pepper take. If everybody here is agreeing and nodding politely.
And you cursed it by saying we would have no bell peppers. The very first one was a bell pepper.
Who wrote it? Jonah, right?
That was like cotton candy. That was good.
Jonah, I just want to say shout out to you, to Washington, D.C. I grew up in Richmond and Winchester. Jonah will know where that is. So shout out to my East Coast, Tidewater region fam. But yeah, that was not spicy, my friend. But I think, I don't think it's a bell pepper. I would go, a poblano pepper. Like, doesn't bother my stomach or my mouth. It's not really spicy, but I like the flavor more than bell pepper. It's the tried and true. It's just a good time. And I think we can give Jonah a poblano at the very least.
That seems fair.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Not to belabor it, I do think it has a little bit more heat than we're giving it because we all agree with it. But I think there's a very vocal, probably minority of the internet who's like, they destroyed Star Wars. How dare they? And I think if we tune
that's
those,
why I stand by the poblano.
Yeah, I would have given
1,000 Scovilles.
I would have said cayenne, a little hotter than that. Middle. Hello?
What
special guest?
My phone went off I apologize.
No,
I'm going to put that under my butt.
She renamed her Siri Poblano Pepper. So that was the confusion.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So are we, I think around that area, can we say jalapeno?
Sure.
Give them a little bit more spice?
No.
I personally like poblanos better than jalapenos.
Okay.
Jalapenos aren't spicy though.
Okay.
How about bell pepper? No, not bell pepper. A banana pepper. A banana pepper. Like, it's spicy if you're white.
Sure, somewhere in that wheelhouse.
Yeah. If you're Stadnik, it's bad. So
sure.
All right.
Or my husband.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jonah, thank you for sending that one in. Let's get to a little spice about Marvel's Avengers versus Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh
God.
Dear Alex and Alex, my hot take for this month is that I think Square Enix's Avengers game has a better story than Spider-Man Miles Morales. And I know that's probably blasphemy to a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I think that the original Spider-Man game is amazing and one of the best campaigns I played this generation. But certainly when it comes to the story of the Avengers, I think it's really, really underrated. I think the character work is amazing.
It is
I think
underrated.
each character has a cool and interesting spin that isn't just the films. And I think that when it comes to Miles Morales, I think a lot of the kind of emotional beats they go for are quite heavy-handed and never really connected with me in the same way the original game does. Avengers, on the other hand, I won't spoil anything, but the final scene between Kamala Khan and her father really touched me and kind of got me emotional. And although the game is full of a lot of, grindcore nonsense and, repetitive levels and all that sort of thing, I think still, in spite of that, the game is quite beautiful and I really, really enjoyed the story. So that's my hot take. I think that Avengers is better than Miles Morales.
You have a very soothing voice.
I was about to say, I was like, sir, you can tell me all the hot bad takes you want because that voice, damn, I can listen to that all day.
Yeah, you should start a Twitch channel, ASMR. Let's do it.
There we go. Yeah. You can send our takes to him. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. The fact that he emphasizes story. At the end there, he said overall it's better, which I think is nonsensical. But the story part in particular, there is a case to be made about it. I think it's interesting. I think like Miles Morales, I really enjoyed my time with that game. And it's one of those that I didn't think I was that invested in. And then no spoilers, but I feel like by the end, final cutscene territory, I found myself getting emotional in a way where it's like, oh, maybe I was more invested than I thought. But I think the same is also true for Avengers. Like Kamala Khan, like I am now a fan of that character and I went in basically completely cold to her. And I feel like all of the crap that Square and Crystal has taken for the structure of that game, a lot of people are just overlooking how strong those story sections are and the performances and the cutscenes that, yeah, I think there's something here.
Yeah. I don't think it's better story because they both are, I don't know, just the narrative design is very different. They're going for very different feels. But I do think that the story of Marvel's Avengers is very much, I agree with that point completely. It is very much overlooked because everybody was so upset about the in-game content, which fair.
Yeah.
And, but the story, I mean, I don't know if it's because I saw a little bit of myself, but like when the very beginning and she's going through the con and she's all nerdy and excited and picking up all the comics she can find and she just her love and excitement and fandom. Like I love obviously we all know by now I have no chill. And I like getting excited and I like people seeing and getting excited about the things they love. So I connected with her immediately and I wanted to see her succeed at absolutely everything and wanted to give her the world. And I think that company did a really good job of bringing her to life. And I think that absolutely gets overlooked. 100% agreed.
Thinking about what that game could have been is, I think, a whole podcast in itself. But I'm more curious. My man, Alex Van Aken, looks like he's about to end this man's whole career. So let's get it going.
I think that game, Avengers, is cheesy as hell. Listen, I played it for like 2 hours. And I was like, Alex like accidentally fell asleep during Deathloop. I was like, I'm gonna go to sleep. Like that. I'm obviously playing it up a little bit for the segment. I was not the biggest fan. I also got I was a little bitter because I bought that game while I was interviewing at Game Informer. I've told this story a couple times. And Alex Stadnik here told me he was going to play with me. I was like, oh, well, this is the guy who like, I feel like I should play with him if he wants to play. So let me go out of my way and buy this game that I did not want to play to begin with.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's back this up.
It was you and Joseph Yaden.
I was going to say, I wasn't the only one saying we should play
Stadnik out here
Both
ruining lives.
I did not hit send on the credit card order for that, my friend. That's on.
Oh my
that's
God.
on you.
The story was a tragedy. My God.
Yeah.
I'll buy
So,
it.
there's lots of things to unpack there. Some baggage on my end, perhaps. But no, being serious. I think this is a pretty spicy take as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I have major Marvel fatigue right now, unfortunately. But Spider-Man's story, even though I agree it was a bit heavy-handed, I really enjoyed the way it changed up the kind of relationship with Peter and the rest of the cast. And particularly, like you mentioned, like the Kamala Khan and her father scene. I did not see it because I didn't make it that far into the game, so I cannot speak to that. But I can speak to Peter and Aunt May and like their storyline in that game. Miles's inclusion, and before he had got his own game. I really enjoyed also like the villains in Marvel's Spider-Man and like the way that those storylines. I know you had kind of written it. You kind of called in with like a big focus on story. So that's where like I'm trying to focus on that with Spider-Man. Usually I'm just like bored out of my mind with superhero stories, but
Yeah.
I really connected with Marvel's Spider-Man in that way. In a way I wasn't expecting. I was kind of just going in for the, Insomniac open world. Like, oh, this is like their first open world since Sunset. And I see a lot of DNA from that in this. So, and then, to actually get, engrossed in the actual story was a big surprise for me and why I like that game a lot. So I would push back that Marvel's Avengers is better. And therefore I think that this is a pretty spicy take.
I think it's a good solid spice. I think this is
Yeah.
jalapeno-esque,
Okay.
if I may.
Okay.
Jalapeno-esque.
I can dig it. That's still.
I would say like a Thai chili.
I just love how like Insomniac, the attention to detail, like all of the references to actual specific issues, like the barcode was the specific issue where a certain character was first introduced in like the 80s. And I just, that level of attention to detail is not required for the casual player, but like hardcore comic fans were like losing their minds. I thought that was
Yeah.
so cool to see.
I agree.
Nice.
So you're saying maybe like meet in the middle with Tabasco, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's not
Yeah.
hot. Tabasco is Windex.
It's
Why do people
It is.
Tabasco is Windex.
is
What are you
not
all
hot.
talking about?
I agree with Liana.
Tabasco is not edible.
Tabasco's
it is
like black
It is
pepper.
like Windex. Yeah, it is. Y'all.
This is very much, you could see who was born in Minnesota and who was born in Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly. This is
yeah.
first jalapenos, now Tabasco. My
What,
God.
Max, the world?
I know.
All right. Well, thank you for that sweet, sweet hot take. I feel like just like with last time we did this, I saved the spiciest for last.
Ooh, good.
Am I gonna get mad at this next one?
Yes, actively so. Here we go.
Love it.
Awesome.
All right.
Dope.
Hi, GI Crew. First time, long time. Here's my hot take. In the first year of the Nintendo Switch, 2 games came out and changed gaming: Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Mario Odyssey was this tight, action-packed experience with beautiful levels, constantly varied gameplay, at the highest quality that only comes with Mario, as well as endless replayability, trying to find all your collectibles. Breath of the Wild is a fraud. It was credited for all these things that have been around in open-world RPGs for years and years, but just haven't made it into a Zelda game, because Zelda. It took so long to get to your next objective. I would fall asleep walking to my next marker. Weapon degradation is the worst idea in gaming. Oh great, I have 22 swords in my inventory. Wonderful.
I gotta take notes.
What's this, a stamina bar for climbing? Look, I love me a stamina bar in Dark Souls. It makes sense. Block, sidestep, counterstrike, you're tired after. Stamina bar for moving around the world in non-combat situations is insane. Fraud.
Fraud.
All right.
Bold claim.
Little straw.
Before we jump in, this was from Joel L. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Joel.
Load of crap, I believe.
And then the previous one was from Tommy from the internet. So I just want to make sure credit is due. Unleash. Go for it.
Go ahead, Alex.
Look, yeah, go for it, Alex.
I gotta
All
see
right.
that. He's boiling.
All right, dude. First of all, just the it's just Zelda. This is the game that made me a Zelda fan. I did not play Zelda games before this game. So as far as, I'm concerned, I did not care that it was a Zelda game. I thought it was cool that it was, and it made me a Zelda fan and made me go back and play afterwards other Zelda games that I didn't enjoy as much as Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild is great. Now, the weapon degradation, that is integral to the game. It's what drives you to continue exploring, and it's the catalyst for combat in the game. Like, why else would you not interact with the rest of the world if you didn't have to go after new weapons? If you didn't have to go after, shrines and puzzles to fill up your stamina and health bar to improve your character? Those are literally the motivations for which you interact and push forward into Breath of the Wild. So to say all of those, are not good and the game's a fraud, I denounce that. I denounce that with my whole heart.
Denounce.
We denounce thee. I mean, it's a spicy take, I guess. But to be fair, back at Game Informer 2017 Game of the Year debates, there was definitely it was almost Mario Odyssey. It was a real argument that got
Mario Odyssey is
pretty
great.
brutal. Yes, no doubt it's great. It is, but
It
its
is my favorite
greatness is
3D.
the,
It is my favorite Mario game.
I get that. Yeah, but it's like it is the lowest common denominator of greatness. And that was the debate. Is like game of the year shouldn't be the good game that the most of us agree was good. It needs to be like this lightning strike, something that's amazing that, yeah, it's going to turn off 30% of the room, I'd say, but still like, for the 70%, probably.
Wow,
It
okay.
was not beloved,
Okay.
but we eventually won out. And I think history has treated that decision very kindly.
Yeah, and like to the point of like it being an empty open world, I agree that it's like I wouldn't say it's empty, but it's definitely like
Minimalistic.
thoughtful. Yeah, sure, like minimal. But as somebody who gets like frequently overwhelmed with, I saw a screenshot the other day of an old, I think it was an Assassin's, maybe it was Far Cry Primal. I can't remember. Somebody tweeted it out.
Game
And
deserved
literally
better.
the entire map of the game was covered like in icons, like overlapping each other. And I'm
Right,
like, that
right.
is not what I want to do. Like I want to like, just like go about my business, approach the open world in any order I want to. And, you know, to find emergent moments of gameplay through the systems at play, through the physics systems and all that entails. Like, I just think like Breath of the Wild is a game about curiosity and, you know, carving your own path towards Ganon however you want. And I think that having a more scattered open world works to fulfill a lot of that. But that's just me.
But that is a spicy take.
It is. It is.
Yeah, oh, dude,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, we're sweating. Liana,
I think that this might be the, go ahead, Liana.
I was going to say, Liana, I know you are not as taken with BOTW.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
I mean, I think calling it a fraud is a little extra. That's where the spice comes for me. Is then I don't want to poo-poo on what people love. I feel in my world, it is not the potential that people say it is. I tanked like 100 hours in that game. I really wanted to like that game. I don't. The weapon breaking was stupid. Some games it works, some games it doesn't. I felt like it was just unnecessary for this game. The stamina was really annoying. Meeting the characters, I didn't feel connected to them. Other than the shark, I thirst for the shark. I got the thirst for. I like the shark, and some of the character, and that's not really fair because like some of the characters are really intriguing, but the really good moments were few and far between for me. And so I agree with a lot of the things he's saying, but I would never call it a fraud because objectively speaking, my own personal subjective experience aside, objectively speaking, it's an amazing game, well put together. You can see the love and passion that went into it. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Sure.
And that's fine. That's fair.
That's fine.
But fraud.
But
Nay. I don't know if I would go that far.
yeah.
I'm thinking this might be like Ghost Pepper territory.
I was going to say, I
Okay,
feel like
sure.
this is the hottest we've gotten
the
on.
verbiage. Yeah, like
on
Liana
heat
said,
map.
the fraud.
Yeah.
Fraud of it all.
Jacques Hughes.
That is like,
Yeah.
I feel like they went through like the thesaurus and we're just like, what word can I put in here that's really going to just ignite this?
Yeah. So, okay, Ghost Pepper. I like that. Also, I didn't know Trinidad Scorpion was a thing. That sounds like a dope like rapper. That's the heat level right of after that. So I'm with Ghost Pepper. Any dissenters here?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats for your completely wrong and hottest take here.
I
Who
think
wrote
you
that
gave
in?
AVA
Or
an
who
ulcer.
called that in?
Yeah, right? Yeah, Joel.
Who called that in?
Joel
Joel?
L. So,
All right, thank you for taking the time, Joel. That was fun.
and taking the L, if I might add. Yeah, we are gonna do some quick write-in community emails because we're running out of time here. But thank you for sending those in. As always, send your hot takes, your audio hot takes to podcast@GameInformer.com. You can get dunked on by your favorite people in the games industry. Ben Hanson, Liana Rupert. It's a beautiful time. So, alrighty. So, let's get it going. Brandon writes in and says, "Hello, everyone. I've been listening to the GI Crew since the Hanson era, and I finally worked up the courage to write in. I'm 28 years old and from Cincinnati. My question to everyone is, how do you get in the gaming industry? Gaming is one of my true passions, and I want to be on the marketing side of the industry, and I have hopes for working at Sony, Sucker Punch, or Game Informer." Oh, look at that. My favorite games are Ghost, Marvel Spider-Man, Soul Calibur 9. Thanks again. And talk about fighting games more, please. We'll have to get John Carson on for that one. I think the blanket answer to this is there is no one way. I think
That's true.
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice, and I'm curious to hear what y'all have to say. I think it is, do not think that just because you like games, this is the space for you. You have to have ability outside of just liking games. We all like games, right? It's like, are you a good writer? Are you a good marketer? Are you a good video editor? There's a ton of ways to get in, and I don't say that to be dismissive or discourage people from getting in, right? But it's like, use those skills that I know y'all have, the writers out there, the video people, even being good communicator, like that can go a long ways. I think that is how you penetrate this space for sure. So,
And the good news is that, I'm sorry, what was this person's name again? But they were super specific on the marketing angle.
Yeah.
Brandon here.
Yeah.
That he wants to lean into that. Like, that's better than just, I want to podcast about games professionally. It's like, then just start podcasting. There's no secret to it. Just get a friend you like talking about games with and dive in. But the marketing angle is really interesting. And so I'd imagine, yeah, that's got to be a clearer path. Just if you have no experience, try and get a local internship and then try and steer things more and more towards the gaming realm. Start with smaller publishers, small devs, probably, I don't know, try and do some freelance stuff for some indie devs just to get something on the docket. But that's at least a ladder to climb instead of the generic, I want to go work at Game Informer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think like if you are already, my last job before Game Informer was in marketing, digital marketing. I was a comms manager. And you'd be surprised, at Game Informer, there's definitely some overlap, but I know of like publishers and developers in the industry that follow a very traditional like marketing procedures like SWOT analyses, KPIs, you're worrying about SEO, like all the marketing buzzwords that you learn in school and implement, on a day-to-day basis at like a traditional marketing job. I know there are several publishers that follow like that very traditional, like we are here to sell a product. We are here to market a product. How do we do that? So that your marketing skills from other industries can directly, transfer over to games, depending on the company you work for. I think there's a lot more scrappier, PR companies and indie devs, like Ben was saying, that it's more of a hybrid role. Like you're wearing many hats, social media management, maybe mock up like some fake press releases, like to show that you can write those up, or, just think about the ways that if you are into marketing, think about the ways that you can kind of like mock up ideas that would work well for games and like use that to start pitching and getting small clients, and then start building, and hopefully you can start networking and getting to know people, and hopefully it snowballs and you find yourself where you want to be.
For sure.
There's also a lot of luck involved.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I was about to
No
say,
matter-
that's something that people don't like to admit.
Yeah, a ton of luck.
Right place, right time. Luck plays, and I don't care if you have somebody you look up to and they say luck didn't play a part. Stop looking up to them because they're lying to you.
Yeah.
I will say I've done marketing for big brands like Xbox. I've done marketing for PlayStation. I've done marketing for a lot of companies in the industry. And I will say, yeah, like what Van Aken said, is there's not one facet of marketing in this industry. I would say the first thing you should do is make sure you have no blind spots in the industry. So if you recognize that maybe you have a really big blind spot with esports, I would do some research into that, because now more than ever, everything overlaps, and we're moving more into influencer culture. Press events are 60% influencers, 40% journalists now. Yeah. And so you can't really afford to have any blind spots. So I would just, if this is an industry you're interested in, learn about it. Learn about the bad stuff, learn about the good stuff, learn about the stuff that you may find personally annoying. And yeah, I would see what part of because there's like the marketing stuff I did for Xbox was very different than the marketing stuff I did for like Walking Dead or Netflix. Like there's different aspects of it. And so you need to hone in on what exactly do you want to do? Do you want to be more public facing marketing? Do you want to be in comms? Do you want to be sales marketing? Do you want to be in revenue marketing? What kind of niche are you looking for? And really hone in on that. And I would say invest in yourself. Start, if you're not on social media, get on social media. Start following the people that got you into being interested in wanting to work in gaming, developers, PR, industry people, Hanson, Alex, do that, learn how they're conversing, learn what the conversation is currently, stay current. And if you're doing that and you're seeing how the conversation is already going, it's going to make it easier to insert yourself into the conversation and be like, look, this is what I bring to the table. Also, you don't have to know, be all about gaming to be able to do this job either. Take all your skills. How I got this job at Game Informer was a lot of my skills just because I've been in this industry for 18 years, but a lot of the stuff I did in the military was paramount. Don't think of like, well, I haven't worked in a games job before. What do I say? Everything. Even if you worked at McDonald's, you worked in customer relations. You knew how the market was going to react if you didn't give them their fries the correct way. There's all these ways that you can integrate that experience that you already have into your portfolio to give a pitch to hire, because all of that is very valuable, and don't let anybody tell you differently.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really passionate about it. Follow your freaking dreams, please.
Shoot your shot. It's key.
Shoot your shot.
And yeah, like everything everyone has said is spot on here. I also would say, start your content journey, whatever you're doing today, get it started. Don't care that it's bad or you think it's bad. Like, I guarantee you I can go back and look at my Battlefront 2 preview that I did for a free site, 5 years ago. And like, I would cringe, but like,
It has 6 record scratches in it.
the whole thing. I wrote it out, actually. It's wild, I did
Insert record scratch.
Exactly. I did a video game podcast with my buddies. Like, I had no clue how to edit. I'd be up till 3 a.m. editing audio in the worst way possible. Learn. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's something I don't think anyone really ever told me until I was older. But that's what landed me at Game Informer. That, and the fact that a person who'd been there 9 years was also leaving. Like, that's the luck portion of it. Like,
right.
But don't wait, because there's a million other people who are interested in this industry and who are developing those skills, I think, more now than ever. So
every moment of hesitation is an opportunity for somebody else. So why not let yourself have that opportunity?
That's good. Who said that? Michael Scott?
Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey, wait. Did Michael Scott stole it from me?
Yeah. Damn you, Steve Carell. All right.
Damn you, Steve Carell. I knew you were a nefarious bastard.
Alrighty. So we have time for one more.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about deciding how we get our consoles, or talking about the Vita? I feel like talking about our consoles would probably go a little quicker.
I'm sorry, I went off.
No, let's go Vita. Vita seems meatier, right?
Yeah, we'll do media. Or media? Excuse me. Jeez. Let's do Vita.
It does play media.
Yeah.
The Vita.
It does. All right. So this is from Crater over on Discord. You can now put your questions into us through Discord if you didn't know. So Crater says, so with the Switch now getting Bluetooth audio support, which is amazing. So happy that's finally here. Welcome to 2016. I don't know. An upcoming OLED screen, Nintendo is finally catching up to the Vita. That said, why do you think the Vita failed so spectacularly when compared to the Switch, given how advanced it was at the time? Was it because it can't play Nintendo games, the rejection of standardized data storage, some combination? Why is the Switch so much more successful than its tech when its tech is only catching up to it in 2021? It's a great question. Hanson, I think you're excited about this one, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's a very simple answer. It's a certain je ne sais quoi we call Nintendo magic. A lot of that comes down to the games. It's so stupid and obvious, but yeah, here's this console or this handheld where you can play all these great Nintendo games versus the Vita, where if you're lucky, they'll put a B-tier Sony studio on spending years making something, and then, okay, here's Golden Abyss, everybody. Now sit politely for 3 years for the next game to come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, escape plan.
Right.
But I agree with that. I think I bought a Vita. I've bought a Vita twice. I sold my first one, and I was like, okay, let me get another one. Because the indies were great. But like Hanson said, there was not that first party support. Like, and if you didn't like Freedom Wars, like I did not, I thought that game was dookie. Everybody loved Freedom Wars. That's all everybody talked about. If you weren't like a very specific type of gamer, and your taste wasn't very specific, and let's be honest, honed into JRPGs, then you probably didn't like a lot of the first and second party offerings on the Vita, and instead, you were left to play some great indies, but like they were kind of few and far between. I'd also say the storage was bad. That whole solution, it was very expensive. But I'd also say like just like the UI, and like and I always just felt like there were too many screens to get to where I wanted to go, especially in the PlayStation Store, which is where I'm going to spend my money. I always felt like there were certain times where you would load up a game and like there wouldn't be screenshots, or I'd have to like somehow access my PlayStation for something to do on my Vita. It's been a while since I've used the Vita, but I remember several instances where it's like what I'm trying to do should be much easier to do in this interface and in this like purchasing system, just to make a transaction. Yeah, so I think that's probably why.
For sure. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Leanna, I know you have some Vita takes that we've talked about before.
I've written so many Vita appreciation posts, man, in my career. That console was so ahead of its time. It deserved so much better. I mean, really, you guys already hit the nail on the head. Sony didn't support it. I loved the remote technology. I loved being able to play Dragon Age on a hammock outside with a bourbon in my hand and my dog's
Destiny 1.
Yeah,
had the Vita controls.
It was, and the trackpad on the back of the system was nice.
Yeah.
But that being said, to do that remote, a lot of times, like I played Dragon Age Inquisition on that outside, and it ported terribly. Like the combat did not translate well to a handheld device. Did I keep playing it? Abso-freaking-lutely, because
you'd like have like one finger on the screen for like
and just you'd get wiped anytime you try to close a rift because it just wouldn't put you under it like in the right spot. And just and like Hanson said, the releases were too far out. There was no support. You had no promise of support either. Like they felt like they pulled a Google of like, here it is, we have this really cool thing, and then they like moved on to something else already. And they didn't commit to it. And if you wanted it to be a success, you needed to have the data, you needed to have the storage, and you needed to have the games. And it had none of that, so it flopped. But I feel like if it would have come out at the time the Switch did, I feel like the technology is a little bit more affordable now for better storage, so they could have implemented that a little bit better. And they were definitely ahead of their time. They effed up.
I do want to retract a little bit of my harshness and put some respect on Tearaway, on Gravity Rush. There were several great games. I do want to point those out.
We do have an article about the best Vita games. Self-plug. I don't care.
Yeah.
Especially games like Dungeon Crawlers that actually utilize the pads on the back. It's great. You should check that out.
GameInformer.com/lists. Don't Starve. Like, there were great games.
Yeah, there was a lot of potential there.
Just not enough and not frequently.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if they ever revisit one day. Probably not with the PS5, but
I've got mine up. I literally was cleaning out my closet earlier. That's why it's open. And I was like admiring my Vita before I even heard this question.
Is it
I was
the
like,
corner
that's a good looking piece of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it up there. Yeah.
We may never know. What I do know is this was a fun podcast. Thank you, Ben, Liana. Thank you so much, Liana. I'm gonna miss working with you every day.
Me too.
It's been one of the highlights of my career. I want to give Ben the opportunity to plug anything you're working on or excited about, or what people should tune into. I know we did a little bit of that in the beginning, but any final plugs?
Yeah, you can check out the MinMax Show podcast. It's not Patreon exclusive, as a lot of people think. Or you can check out MinMax's YouTube channel, youtube.com/MinMax with 2 N's. We have a trivia show called Trivia Tower. You can compete in Trivia Tower to win awesome game codes and Asteroid 40 headsets. A lot of fun times. So you can check us out. We'd appreciate it. But I also want to take an opportunity to say congratulations to you two for the new era of the show. Hats off to Reeves, of course. I loved his run as well.
100%.
I think he did a great job, like building out the different segments and stuff. I think it's a really smart move. I hope you two have a lot of fun. I have not missed an episode since I left. I love the show. So keep up the good work, everybody. And Liana, I'll miss hearing you on it.
I love MinMax too. I listen, especially with Janet, man. She just adds that spice that I love. She was such a great addition to your guys' team. You love to see it.
She's the habanero of the MinMax Show podcast.
She's not the bell pepper.
That's right. That's right.
And Liana, I don't know what Bungie says, but you know what? Screw them. You can come on whenever you want. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So
just
have me
kidding.
back to
Bungie,
talk
hold on.
Dragon Age
Screw
Remastered
Bungie.
anytime.
Bungie, I love you. Please don't think that's bad. No, Liana, you are fantastic, and I'm like I said, I'm gonna miss working with you. So that'll do it for this 570, I believe. Good Lord, that's a lot of shows. So if you enjoyed this show, be sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, on podcast services everywhere. Leave us a review on iTunes. You know, as you've heard, we'll read them. You know, a couple of people have reached out with really honest feedback for me, and I really appreciate that. So, you know, hit me up on Twitter, like that kind of stuff, like actually like, you know, constructive stuff that I appreciate. So, but until next week, be good to one another. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.